So the next one we're going to look at is trust and cohesion. Again, I think just intuitively, a lot of us will understand this is a really core building block on which everything else somewhat depends. I think we all know it's important. What I think we don't know enough about is how to build it really quickly. And we'll come back to that as one of the skills exercises that we're going to do in the session. If we look at what are the component elements of trust and cohesion, high trust relationships between individuals within the team. And actually what we find most powerful is taking that to a one-to-one level. So one of the exercises that we've found incredibly powerful actually on a regular basis, and actually surprising that people don't do this individually themselves, is get the team to rate the quality of their relationship with each other individual in the team. And by doing that, you're getting them to take responsibility for those relationships in that team. I'll keep coming back to this theme actually, but the one thing I've learned over the last 10 years of working with teams is the single biggest factor that shifts performance, and it links into a lot of what we're talking about here, is getting individuals to take more responsibility for the team's performance, not waiting for the leader to create it. Okay, so one of those is getting people to take responsibility for the relationships, not just waiting for the leader to create that. If you have high trust relationships, you're more likely to feel a sense of belonging. You're more likely to be honest. You're more likely to welcome challenge when it comes from other people in the team. You're more likely to support them. So we'll come back to the how as the exercise. So psychological safety, I know to the community on the Learning Lab here, this will be something a lot of us are really passionate about. But again, just to remind us, it's to what extent does the environment create or encourage people to take interpersonal risks? So does it feel like an environment that I can say something that I'm just not sure whether it's a good idea or not, or where I don't have the expertise, but someone else in the room does? To what extent can I raise an issue that actually reflects badly on me? Or to what extent can I challenge the leader? Probably the key one of those three. Knowing each other's strengths. One of my favorite books around team performance, again, we will recommend it. I particularly love the title, is Surrounded by Idiots. And it's a brilliant book, just written on the idea of personality. And this temptation we all have to desperately want other people to be like us, which is the last thing you want in a team. Okay, but doing something as a leader to very quickly get a better understanding of each other's strengths so we can start playing to them. We talked about cohesion before. Gainline defined cohesion as the extent to which they understand each other and understand each other's strengths. I think what you get a tipping point in a team where it gets into a flow of people where it almost becomes one sort of organism by itself, and people are just naturally playing and passing to each other's strengths. And then, so empowerment is, a key driver of efficiency in a team is not to do everything together, but it's to what extent does the team empower and trust experts from the team to lead on behalf of the team and to do things on that. And then the last one, you'll notice it's a different color. So this is a really interesting one. I see a lot of teams try to ignore this, and I've seen it trip up some incredibly capable teams. So where the team itself is very high performing, very tight, but they're not trusted by key stakeholders. So a pretty prominent example of this is Greg Dyke, one of the first leaders I had the privilege to really work closely with in the BBC, and struck by people crying on steps the day he resigned from the BBC. But essentially what let him down from being able to lead the change he was trying to do is he didn't have the governors on board. And for me, it was a huge lesson in you have to think about where the team sits in the wider ecosystem. If you don't have the key stakeholders on board, you won't have the influence that you want as a team.